Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to video message number 29.
Pair of panties. The juice is loose. Jeff, look at this thing.
Listen up, the ratings just came in for last month. We are number one. We just grabbed every key demographic.
Super duper, gang. Yeah. Super duper. That's nice. Way to go. Neato, gang.
Yes.
Boy, that is good news.
It is the 7th day of May 2024. Congratulations, Timberwolves fan. What a game last night. We are very, very lucky, I think, to have this squad in town, and we're going to see some good things continue to happen. I know they're going to be celebrating all day today with Marty Gellner coming in and Mark Rosen and a cast of thousands. Let's get her started. Here's John Christ, some Power Trip Morning Show comedy on a, Tuesday morning? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Come on in. I'm glad you're here.
What's the Indians' new mascot? Does anybody know? The Guardians. Cleveland Guardians? Y'all know what a Guardian is? A guy that says, be home by 10 p.m. and you go, shut up, you're not my real dad. Who are y'all playing? The Cincinnati Stepdads? Who are y'all playing? The Guardians? Nobody's scared of that. You know what I'm saying? No, if you ever watch baseball, they hit a home run, there's no one in the stadium. There's no one in there because no one cares about baseball. I'm saying spice it up, you know? The Rangers? No one's scared of the Rangers. You know what a Ranger is? The guy says, when you're done camping, throw away your trash. That's a... You're not scared of it. I'm just saying spice up the names. You know what I'm saying? If you were watching a baseball game tomorrow and you're like, tonight's rubber match is the Miami Cubans versus the Texas Border Patrol agents. Don't tell me you wouldn't watch the Virginia Vegans play the St. Louis Slaughterhouse Employees.
Ooh, I love the T-Wolves.
On your side, you hear the distant thunder. There's lightning in your stride.
Well, what the hell was that? Absolute domination, and the Timberwolves are up 2-0. Charles Barkley says they're sweeping the Nuggets. The Nuggets are throwing tantrums and heat packs. They're saying the F word right into officials' faces and not getting technicals. They have unraveled, and we are reaping all the benefits. This is so bizarre. It feels so weird. This team's crazy good.
Crazy.
They might do it.
Yeah, they might.
What's going on? How is this happening to us?
And Corliss.
Go on.
They did it without the best defensive player in the game. They held them to 80 points.
What a bunch of babies. We made the Phoenix Suns look like a bunch of babies and whiners, and now the Nuggets are throwing tantrums.
Throwing heat packs on the court, cursing people out.
Yeah, Barkley said at halftime it's the best defensive game he's ever seen.
I mean, it was beyond stifling in the first half, and that's why when people get very critical about the NBA regular season and the effort level of I don't know, the standard NBA player in the regular season, you just can't, I don't believe, you can't do what they did in the first half for a full 82. You would either get yourself hurt or wear yourself out. But it's playoff time. You got to ramp it up. That was the craziest defense I think all of us have ever seen. Because if you looked at Twitter last night, all of us who have been watching Timberwolves basketball for 35 years were like, what is this?
Yeah.
The champs can't get past us. They are baffled, frustrated, confused. I mean, I've never seen Jamal Murray melt down like that. Not just throwing the heat pack, but he just looked absolutely blown away by what Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Ant, and others were doing to him on the perimeter. Man, I don't know if they're going to do it, but they definitely can.
Yes.
They're the best team in the NBA right now.
Right
now, they definitely are.
Straight. And what did I hear last night? 4 of them have been by double digits.
Yeah, they're the number one offensive team in the playoffs. They're the number one defensive team in the playoffs. I mean, the Denver Nuggets are the reigning champions. They're going to have the 3-time MVP on their team. And how many shot clock violation possessions did you see yesterday? This is one of the best schemed teams in the NBA, and they couldn't do a damn thing against the Rudy-less Timberwolves defense. I mean, come on, man.
And how many of us, when we heard the news that Rudy was possibly missing game 2 because of the birth of his son, we're going, for God's sakes, again, I'm 100% on Rudy's side. A gazillion, bazillion percent. But the Minnesota sports fan in me said, yeah, he's got to be gone, but of course it's happening to us.
Right. Yeah.
Of course it's during the second round of the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. Well, why? Why does it have to happen to us? And then it didn't even freaking matter.
Didn't matter.
Let him be with his son and get 4 or 5 days off, and then we don't play again until Friday.
And they got... Denver's head coach went apoplectic.
Yeah,
How did he not get thrown out?
I don't understand.
He ran on all the way to the other end of the court from where he was to the other end, whatever it is, baseline, whatever it's called, the other side, and he lost his mind. And they just said, whatever. And
I don't understand the broadcast either. Reggie Miller and the crew just kept saying, wow, what restraint by the officials. How about don't give the head coach the ability to drop F-bombs basically in your tongue, right? Like Mike Malone is basically spitting saliva into the mouth of Mark Davis.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm showing restraint. Restraint, technical. Let's go. Tee this guy up and kick him out.
Yeah, they kept saying, like, patience. I'm like, how about inconsistency? Because Anthony Edwards just got a tech last game for staring at someone.
Well, and then the rest of the game, after Malone throws the tantrum, the rest of the game, every time Ant or Cat would complain about a foul or a non-foul, I'm like, if this son of a bitch tees him up for throwing a little fit here, this is going to be unbelievably hypocritical. And they didn't.
No.
But you set the bar so high then to get a technical the rest of the way. Man, I can't wait to hear what Marty says. She's going to be so jacked.
Power Bets just tweeted, good morning, Minnesota. Your Minnesota Timberwolves are plus 290 to win the NBA championship. That's the lowest odds to win a title by a Minnesota team, NBA, NFL, all that, since the 1998 Vikings.
Well, just yesterday it was plus 550, I think.
Right.
So almost halved it in one day.
I think, and we can ask him when he gets here, but when we were at Circa, I think Rosie put a significant amount of money for them to win the West. And pretty good odds.
Yeah. And then, I think it was public too. Tennessee had me put a bet on him to win the title when we were in Vegas at like 22-1.
Man, they're really good. It's unbelievable to watch.
How about Chuck last night? So Charles Barkley after the game, after Kenny Smith made a bunch of good points, Shaq made a bunch of good points, and Charles actually said that exact thing. He goes, look, Kenny just made a bunch of good points, Shaq made a bunch of good points, but this series is a wrap. Just said they're sweeping the Nuggets, and he said something that I thought was just impossible we could say a week ago. Charles Barkley said, Denver doesn't have the advantage anywhere.
Yeah.
And you think that's crazy when 100%. You hear, but because of the way they're defending the Joker right now, he's like, name one thing that Denver has over the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's like, you can't. He goes, the Wolves are just a better team. He goes, this thing's a wrap. They're going to sweep the Nuggets.
Yeah, and he also said either at halftime or right at the end of the game, one of them said they don't have the bodies, meaning like the 7 or 8 guys, to play with the pace they need to beat the Wolves. They just don't. They have no bench. And when their bench comes in, it's not that good. It's not Nickeil Alexander-Walker. It's not Naz Reid. It's not Kyle Anderson. They just don't have the bench. Nobody has the depth the Wolves have, where even when they go to the bench, it's still the same intensity. We saw last night, the guys who never play were playing like they were down 5. That's the mentality.
Well, at the end of the game, sure.
Yeah, but that's the mentality they play with the whole game.
Right, but I think this is Barkley's point. If you look at last night's game and then really even look at the box score, the 8 minutes Monte Morris gave us were frustrating as hell. I'm like, get this dude out of the game. He was it looked like he was overwhelmed with the moment. So if you get rid of his 8 minutes, we had a 7-person rotation without Rudy, which means with Rudy it would be 8. So I know we feel deeper than most teams, and we are, because if you have the 6th man of the year, by definition, you have something off the bench that most teams don't have. We did it with 7.
Yeah.
We didn't do it with 10, and the Nuggets have 6 or 7. We did it with a 7-man rotation and kicked their ass. domination the entire game.
They dominated the first half, and Ant was just okay.
How many of us thought, and you can't because it's once in every 2 decades. How many of us at halftime or the third quarter were like, well, I'm just going to go to bed. This game's over. I watched the whole thing just because I'm like, I might never see something like this again as a Timberwolves fan. You got to stay up and watch them dagger them. And what was crazy is even though the 32-ish point lead got cut to 18 or 19?
Yeah, 19.
Never worried.
Never worried because you still go, it's a 20-point lead, give or take, in the fourth quarter. They're resting Ant for a couple of minutes here. The second they get him back in the game, there's no way you're going on something like a 25-5 run against this defense the rest of the way.
They didn't even have 50 points at halftime.
Right,
they barely had 50 points at the end of the third quarter. Like it's just the utmost faith in this team because but we've seen throughout this playoffs, they are going to keep their foot on the pedal. They're going to put their foot on teams' necks, and they never let up for a second last night. It's a really weird feeling to have this much hope and faith in this Timberwolves team, man.
How about crew chief Mark Davis, the guy who got yelled at from 2 inches away by head coach Mike Malone of the Denver Nuggets? Crew chief Mark Davis had, quote, although Coach Malone was visibly upset about both his team and the officials, which, by the way, that's funny, too, about both his team and the officials, I did not hear him say anything unsportsmanlike that warranted a technical foul. I'm not a very good lip reader.
I'm watching it right now.
There were a lot of MFs in that little 5 to 10 second meltdown. He had to be restrained by players and coaches. How is that not a technical? I don't understand that. Well, then I'll never understand that.
And Aaron Gordon or whatever was barking at him too while he was holding Michael Malone back. So it should have been a tech.
The only tech they got was off TV. When they teed up Aaron Gordon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was the only technical foul they got, and none of us saw it.
But honestly, the refs that's kind of how they ref the game yesterday, and that worked in the Wolves' favor because the Nuggets got out physical. They just got bullied the entire game.
They did. It's over. I mean, it's over. The Wolves haven't lost 3 straight all season. They're not going to lose 4 games.
4 out of 5 is going to be tough.
They're not.
And somebody said that last night, too, and I forget who it was. It was like, if Anthony Edwards is healthy, he's so good right now. You can't beat an Ant team 4 out of 5 times.
The Nuggets haven't even scored 100 points yet.
Right.
Like, it's hard to believe that they're going to come back. I still think they're going to have some fight. They're going to have a counterpunch in them, but it's hard to believe that this team could win 4 in a row against the Timberwolves or 4 games against the Timberwolves, period, when they can't even break 100 points.
Yeah. And during the Malone rant, half their bench comes off the bench to, get him back on. Isn't that illegal? Can't you not come off the bench, or is that only if it's a fight?
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to come off the bench at all. And then the heat pack thing. I mean, they were throwing a tantrum. Yeah, I didn't think that the Wolves were going to be able to just completely unravel the Nuggets like that, but man, they were.
That's how you wish they played tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you know, like in hockey, if you hit somebody in the face or whatever, and you get called for a high sticking, it's a 2-minute penalty. But if blood gets drawn, it turns into 4. Right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
So everything I've read this morning is the best guess is that Jamal Murray gets fined for throwing a heat pack onto the floor.
Yeah.
Right? The logical explanation last night was, well, the fans don't have a heat pack. I think Chris Finch even said this after the game. So we all knew, even if you don't know who threw it, it has to come from the bench. The fans aren't throwing heat packs. They don't have heat packs, right? Why would they have one?
No.
But so I get, all right, you can't give a technical foul to somebody if you can't technically figure out who did it or how it happened, right? But what if he throws it onto the court and Naz Reid slips and tears his ACL? And now I know that's an extreme example. How do you not suspend a guy for throwing a heat pack on the court during a play, not after a foul or when a whistle is blown? The play's going, and here comes a heat pack in from essentially the upper deck.
Right.
What are you doing? How is that? I mean, there's almost no one saying he's going to get suspended. I mean, a lot of us in Minnesota, I guess.
Perk did.
Everybody else is saying the most likely punishment is a fine. He'll get fined.
What's he care?
But that's my point. Is
correct.
Again, it's about setting the bar. So now we can throw things onto the court during the game and just get fined. No future suspension. No. What if somebody gets hurt? Then do you get suspended?
Right.
Otherwise, let's just gamble once in a while and throw stuff.
Right.
I think the fans should bring some heat packs with them.
Somebody said that.
Honestly, just start throwing ass out on there. Here's Finchy.
I didn't actually see it happen, but when it was explained to me, the referees didn't see it either, so they're not able to issue a technical unless they see it. We tried to impress upon them that there probably aren't many fans in the building that have a heat pack, so it probably had to come from the bench, which they found logical. But yeah, it's inexcusable and dangerous, and I'm sure it was just a mistake and an oversight. I'm sure there was nothing intentional by the officiating at all, but certainly can't allow that to happen.
It did look as if the refs were doing their best to keep the rowdies from getting rowdier and tearing the place to the ground. I know that they were in a tough spot. There's no doubt about it. But how do you get control of something like that? It was completely out of control.
Yeah. You get Sauce. Who's the Yankees manager?
John Daly Coron.
Aaron Boone, right? So did you guys see about a week ago?
Yeah.
Aaron Boone gets warned by the home plate umpire to stop complaining or he's going to get tossed. Right? It's like I think he said actually one more word out of you and you're out of here. So he's standing on the top of the dugout, not saying a word, and a guy that's sitting like first or second row right behind the Yankees dugout starts MFing the ump, and the ump goes, "You're out of here!" And he kicks Boone out of the game, and Boone's like, "I didn't say anything." And it was 24 hours on ESPN, Sauce, because New York biased.
Of course.
But they were right. It's like, how can you throw a guy out when he's like, "I didn't say anything," and everybody on the Yankees dugout is pointing behind like it was somebody in the crowd. What are you doing?
And the ump straight up said, "I don't care who said it."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, right? Is if the officials go, all right, logically, somebody from the Nuggets bench threw a heat pack, you could probably give a bench technical, right, and not specifically know that it's Murray. You could just say, all right, technical on the Nuggets bench. We're giving you a T. Wolves get the shot in the ball. You could do that, but what if it was a fan? Right? I guess that's the hard part is how do you know? I wonder why that's not just reviewable. If somebody says, can we go back and look to see if there's a video of the Nuggets bench? Can we see if there's somebody who threw it? Because if somebody threw it, that person gets the technical, then we move on with the game. Or how about that person gets ejected for being a man baby?
Well, and also, did you guys notice, and it was their own players, how close somebody was to rolling an ankle on that thing?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And again, I know that's like being silly maybe, but truly, I mean, that could have, what if Ant had stepped on that and broken his ankle?
Oh, my God.
Or even one of their own players.
Then we go Frankenstein on it, and we start grabbing pitchforks and marching to Denver, and we burn the city to the ground.
That's right, which, I'm real close to doing some stuff like that this morning anyway. So, I mean, I think that I am...
Today's a perfect day for bonus.
Yeah, it really is. No, it's okay.
I can't wait to hear what I'm missing.
Oh, dude, it's just getting... I mean, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Oh, man, lots. But it doesn't matter. But regardless,
How about them Wolves?
How about them Wolves?
Yeah.
How about them Wolves?
Hey, Darren loves the Wolves.
So, John Bonus back from Japan.
Johnny Beans!
He should be your...
Hell yeah.
Mark Rosen. Mark Rosen, who normally sits courtside.
He pays for those.
He'll probably be there on Friday for Game 3. Zach Halverson's walking in. He made TNT's broadcast last night with a clever tweet. We can talk about that, but at 7 o'clock, Marnie Gellner will be here, and I can't wait to see Cloud9 Marnes at 7 o'clock. This is the home of the Timberwolves, The Fan, and the Power Trip Morning Show.
The Fan.
Jokic wants it up top. Nas all over him. Hand off to MPJ. Oh, he ran right into Mike, who took the ball away. Feeds it up to Ant. Breakaway. Showtime dunk for Anthony Edwards. A 28-point lead with 30 seconds left to go in the first half. The Ball Arena crowd is shell-shocked. The defending champs are shell-shocked.
And you got to love when somebody like Mike Conley steals the ball, throws it down the court, and just turns his back to the play because he's like, my job's done. I'm going to let Ant do his thing. And Ant just hammers it and hangs on the rim and screams. And I think most of the Twin Cities had a physical orgasm when that dunk went down. It was like, let's bury this team. Yeah, I did.
I had a mental one. Not physical. I'm too old for that.
Well, you'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get there.
No, I don't
It'll
think I
come
will
back
anymore.
around.
I don't think so.
Look at Johnny Bones.
Look at Johnny Bones is back.
Bones back from Japan.
His coffee's falling apart.
Konnichiwa.
Oh.
He'll be back in a second.
Has he just walked out?
Yeah, he left.
Hold the door for me.
No, he got your email.
Man.
106-80. The Wolves win Game 2 of the Western Conference semifinals. Massive favorites now to win the series. Again, Sauce, you said what, 290 plus 290 to win the title?
Plus 290 to win the whole thing.
That's insane.
Well, isn't it something like teams that are up 2-0 win like 91, 92% of the time or something like that?
Something like that. But also, Ernie Johnson on TNT said last night, in the history of the NBA, this was right before Zach's tweet went viral. Hi, Zach.
Hi.
In the history of the NBA, defending champions have only lost the first 2 games at home in a series once ever. And it was the Lakers, and they got swept by the Mavericks.
Yep.
And maybe that's why Charles Barkley came off the top rope last night and said, this thing's over. Wolves are sweeping. Wolves in 4.
What a full circle moment for him to acknowledge that he has been a Timberwolves hater, say they changed his mind, and then him saying they're just flat out better than these dudes. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Shaq, too. It was awesome. It's awesome to see those guys talk about it.
Charles did play the, we don't get to see him very often card last night, and that's fine. Whatever. That's a half cop-out. But let's defend the people who doubted this before the season started. That's a lot of us because it didn't work last year.
Not your boy.
It didn't work. It looked like you're really going to run it back with almost the exact same team. It didn't work last year. And then the comeback was, we got to give Kat and Rudy a chance to mold and this. And we're like, all right, I guess you're going to. If Tim Conley wants this to be his legacy, let's go for it. And it worked almost immediately, right? They beat Boston, a week or 2 in?
Yeah.
It was pretty early.
And we said, if you can beat the Celtics, how good can this get? And it just got better and better and better and better.
I mean, the Rudy Gobert trade was savaged by about everybody. Everybody thought it was stupid. Everybody thought they gave up too much.
People are calling it the worst trade in
Barkley
sports history. Not even basketball, sports.
I have to admit it, I said that too.
But in the back of Conley's mind, part of it had to have been, if the way this team to beat and be the best team in the league, you got to beat Denver. He has built a team that just suffocates Denver. Now, Rudy was traded for, the entire season and all that stuff, but having Rudy, they just didn't dominate Denver. I don't get it. Even back before that.
It's not even just about the Nuggets, though. It is kind of a do the opposite, get ahead of the trend thing, which is very odd for the Wolves to have foresight. But when the entire league is jacking up threes from guys like Steph Curry, the double twin tower thing just isn't supposed to work anymore. That's supposed to be 1994 basketball. But it works because our other pieces can shoot threes, and one of the big towers can shoot threes.
Yeah, that also works because we've got the defenders on the outside to defend against those threes.
Exactly.
I mean, they've got some shut-down guards back there that are absolutely outstanding right now.
What do you know? You've been in Japan for 3 weeks. You missed this entire season.
I was able to find a bar in Japan to watch the Timberwolves games.
Oh, what about the Twins? You forget about the Twins? The Twins have been killing it.
He has a better chance.
Absolutely killing it.
He has a better chance of seeing the Twins in Japan.
That's true. Right?
Oh, my God, great line.
That's from their podcast.
That's from their
podcast. What kind of sports bar-ish crowd in Japan is watching Timberwolves basketball?
The tricky part about it is that the timing is off, right? So the games we could watch were the games that were fortunately out on the West Coast in Phoenix, because 9:30 start time there is like, or on the West Coast is something like 11:30 a.m. start time in Tokyo. So we were able to catch, and fortunately the bar opened at about noon, so catch the last half.
You got to be there for the rope drop, right? You got to be there as soon as the door opens.
That's right, exactly right.
A rope drop.
Yeah, well, especially because here's the thing about bars in Japan. The vast majority of them are about 8 to 10 seats. Like, that's it. Like, they've got something called they call the stand bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking for confirmation of Maxx, where it's a room about half the size of this studio, and it's a counter, and there's no chairs. There might be a board to lean against, and that's about it. And I mean, that is, like in Kyoto, that is probably 50% of the bars I saw.
Yeah, they're all just basically a hole in the wall. I think they call them izakayas.
Yeah. And it's and they'll have a little bit of food or something that they'll serve you. But we found one on like the 7th floor, started by some guy from Guam. I'm walking, I'm talking to the guy who speaks English. I'm like, this can't be legal, right? Like, there's no way this is legal. He's like, I was able to get a license like 7 years ago. Nobody's ever really checked on it since.
Sounds right.
Isn't it crazy how you mentioned the 7th floor? Isn't it crazy how you have to look up when you're looking for things? Yeah. Everything is stacked upon everything out there. It's pretty cool.
It'll be like if there was this small suburban office tower, nowhere near as big as the one we're in, right? And it's 12 floors high, and every floor is a different restaurant.
Or just something random. Like, it might be like
random, right,
a Toys R Us on top of a Buffalo Wild Wings on top of a Walgreens.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Well, and how about
on top of a catering company?
Right.
So you can't even really visit. Like, it's just weird.
Back to your standing up bars because there's only 6 to 8 seats.
Stand bar.
For most of the 35-year history of the Timberwolves, that is more than enough space for a Wolves watch party.
Yep.
But not anymore. Welcome aboard, Japan. Jump on this old ant train. When we come back, we'll do front page sports. We'll talk about Zach's clever tweet. See what John Bonus thinks about the Timberwolves, because he watched them standing up in Japan as soon as the bar opened. This is the Power Trip Morning Show on the Fan.
Some of those that work forces, they're the same that work crosses.
Want to win a trip for two to Ballard's Resort? Then head over to our contest page. Enter win a VIP package that includes 2 nights lodging for 2 and 2 days of guided walleye fishing. KFAN.com keyword contest winter today.
Hey, a little quiet drive for you. 5/7/2024.
I love these guys.
Power Trip Morning Show. Johnny Bones is back in here. Johnny Bones!
Hello.
Hi, Johnny Bones.
Oh, it's so good to be back.
It's good to see your little face.
I'm glad
Good to see you guys.
Yeah. All of us a little tired. Although, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know much about basketball. But when they came out in the second half and continued to skunk them, I turned it off and went bed.
I can't blame you. Like I said, the game was over, but it was just, it was like gawking at a car accident. It was just, how bad can this get? Are there going to be fights?
No.
Is Denver going to truly melt down? Are we going to win by 50? I just couldn't wait to see the end of the movie, even though I never, to Max's point earlier, I never once thought, are they going to blow this lead? That's the Minnesota way, right? But I just knew that team last night was not giving up.
I cannot say I did not think. I cannot say I did not think that they might blow that lead because I've been scarred by enough, right?
Yeah.
But as Chrissy was like, you should probably go to bed. Like this is over. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'd waited my whole Timberwolves life to watch this.
Yeah.
I want to watch the TNT show afterwards. I want to hear what everyone
for sure. Yeah. And then ESPN after that.
Yeah. I want to see Barkley say, I was wrong, and this team is going to sweep. This series is over. That's what I want to see.
I just laughed like a villain for the whole second half. Like it was so much fun.
It was sweet, man. We rarely see teams like that. I mean, you compare them to the 98 Vikings, but they are just a dominant team, and they come out and they know that Denver historically in these playoffs has started slow, and they make them start slow, and they punch them and knock them to the ground, and they can never get back up. It's awesome.
And it looks
to watch.
like this team knows that it's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They know they are getting a sense of how good they can be.
Well,
and how fueled they can play. It was fun to watch.
Crawford, who's great. Jamal Crawford is great.
He is actually surprisingly really good.
It was either him or Reggie Miller that basically said Mike Conley told one of them that they're too young. Like they're in this situation. They don't know how to react. Like they're just in this situation and nothing bothers them. It's awesome.
You know what seems fun listening to everybody talk, because again, I'm not pretending to be an expert. I'm just cashing in on what other people said. It seems like when we watched the Rams and they were doing that stuff with Kurt Warner, and they were completely redesigning how football was played on offense, like the T-Wolves are doing that on defense. Like Shaq said, it was the best defensive team he'd ever seen. He'd never seen a team play defense. Okay, who cares?
But still, right. No, but you're right though. It's but the point that Shaq made, that's cliche, but he just leaned into it, was, you know, the line is defense wins championships. Last night in the first half specifically, it's undeniable. I don't know what Oklahoma City is going to do with that. I don't know what Boston is going to do with that. That defense is just next level.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who the other team is. This is the champs, and they were confused. They just didn't know what to do. You know, I'll go back 20 years, though. Even though that team had a better regular season record than this year's squad, I mean, they had to battle with the Kings, right, for 7 games.
Right. Yep.
And then you ran into the Lakers, and you're going, it's the Lakers. We have to play perfectly to have a chance. And then Cassell got hurt, and the whole thing fell apart, right?
Right.
That's how I feel now, inverted. That as long as Ant specifically stays healthy, I don't know how people are going to slow this team down. Right? Like, for example, like if you had to tell me right now the Nuggets are going to come back and win this series, I say, all right, then Ant gets hurt in game 3.
Yeah, correct.
Otherwise, no chance. It's not happening. You could go a series later. Can we beat Oklahoma City or Dallas? Absolutely think they're going to win unless we have a significant injury.
Yeah. They're the best, as Maxo said. They've won 6 straight games. They're the best team currently in the NBA. They're 5.5-point favorites on Friday, and they are about to turn the lights out on the champions. They've made that team look one-dimensional, and they run Jokic up and down the court, and he is worn out. You see him. Yeah. He's worn out halfway through the first quarter because he can't just plant in the paint and then just facilitate like he does. They make him move around. They have a master class of a defense that they have put on this team.
It did look like Trent Tucker's prediction was going to come to fruition in the first half. It looked like Aaron Gordon was going to be the difference last night.
Yeah. He had like 16 in the first quarter.
Yeah, and once he cooled off, though, then they didn't have anything else. Right, he was everywhere in the first quarter.
Yeah, he was.
Well, I mean, all he does is drain that one shot from the corner. That was the only shot he seemed to be making.
And Andy's Joker's alley-oop man, and that's what they use a lot because then you double Joker. But they have 3 7-footers, and Kyle Anderson, who is a liability on offense, is very good just getting in the way. He's 6'10". I mean, they have so many tall people that they just put. It's awesome to see.
Wait, is Anderson really 6'10"?
Yes.
That's a huge
Huge bitch. Did it look like to you guys in the first half that it was a home game for the Wolves, though? Because we were slapping the hell out of that ball a lot, and I was shocked we weren't getting the calls.
They let them play,
and more for us than for them.
That worked in the Wolves' favor because the Nuggets could not bang with the Wolves. They were not as physical as the Wolves, and they got out muscled and they got bullied around. And to Sauce's point, they were tired.
They were worn out.
Well, and especially because the Wolves were playing with pace with no Rudy Gobert. They were running and gunning the whole game. Like they were really paying. They were really like getting the ball up the court really quickly. Then they weren't letting Denver get set defensively, and they were just running their asses. And I agree, Hawk. Though, like the refs were letting them play. I was pretty surprised, and to the point that it's a home game. There was Wolves in 4 chants that bro. If you stayed until the end of the game and watched, the crowd broke out into Wolves in 4 chants in Denver.
Jokic has got a little bit of blaming his teammates too, man. Did you guys notice that a little bit?
Who did?
Jokic just seemed like he was kind of giving the eye to his team at the end, especially at the end of the first half.
Yeah, Jokic has to look at himself a little bit. Like the reason the Wolves are so good defensively, the reason I think Denver looks so out of place is Jokic is being handled one-on-one.
Right.
Like they don't need to. They don't need to.
Nas has been
incredible.
Night. Yeah.
Right. But both Cat and Nas can play him one-on-one, and I think he's so used to the double team and being the facilitator that now that it's gotten to the point where he's like, no. You got to break it down. Like you've got to break down Nas. You've got to break down Cat. Otherwise, we've got nobody open on the outside because they don't need to rotate as many people. And he's just not doing it.
Before you make your point, Saucy.
Time now for Front Page Sports, presented by Holiday Station Stores.
Yeah, Holiday Station Stores. If you were up late watching the game, you got to wake up a little bit. Go to Holiday. Lots of options there, including 79-cent sodas and frosters. If you want to get anything up to an XL size, just 79 cents for a limited time at Holiday. Paul, the floor is yours.
You watch them play basketball and you watch how when they come out last night and it's the bully ball factor. And as you just said, Bonus, they know that they can body Jokic with one guy. But if they have to, then you got the Twin Towers that come over and smother him. And then their whole offense revolves around him, and they've cut the head off of the snake. That's what they've done.
Shout out to Nickeil Alexander-Walker was the sneaky MVP of last night's game, just drilling threes every time, even if it was 20 or 30 points, even if the Wolves' lead was that significant. Every time it felt like the Nuggets were about to go on a run, it seemed like he just drilled one of those corner threes, and his defense was just unbelievable. I know the TNT crew kept pointing that out, but McDaniels had one of those McDaniels nights where he's playing awesome on defense, but then he gets frustrated, and you're like, oh, boy, you got to give up the ball a little bit, man. Let Ant or Conley or somebody handle it. Right. So McDaniels had a frustrating game, but again, that's the beauty of this team. Is
right. They didn't need it.
Well, and that's also the point that Kenny Smith made after the game, if you watch the TNT post game before Zach's tweet went viral. He was trying to say, like, look, he understood that he was a tier 2 player in the NBA, right? Kenny Smith wasn't a star. He was that next level. And he kind of said what you just said, Chris, about Joker, that if Barkley or Shaq has a good game, but not a Hall of Fame Charles Barkley or Hall of Fame Shaq game, you got to have somebody else pull you through, is I believe the phrase that Kenny Smith said. Right now, no one else on Denver is helping Joker at all.
Right.
So we're throwing the sink at Joker. Okay, that should be advantage. Gordon, Porter, Murray. Somebody else has to step up and say, all right, if they're gonna beat up Joker, frustrate Joker, double team Joker, whatever they do, then somebody else has to kill the Wolves. Nobody else is doing that.
Nobody.
And that's not enough. That's the beauty of this Wolves squad. I keep saying this because it's almost crazy how you can pinpoint that guy's having the bad game today, and it just doesn't matter.
No.
We just keep spinning the wheel. It lands on, all right, Conley sucked this game. Gobert sucked that game. McDaniels sucks this game. It doesn't matter. The other 6 or 7 guys fill up the gap and kick some ass, and we run away with it. It's just such a balanced, smart, mature team. Everything Jimmy Butler wanted this team to be 6 years ago, it just took forever.
Right. He's watching.
And we don't have to listen to him whine. So it's the exact vision he wanted, just without him.
Yeah, they're tough. They don't back down, and that starts with their leader, Ant. Ant is just such a monster. Even when they double team him, he slithers his way through. He drives to the lane like I know they've compared him to Jordan, but like early Dwayne Wade, where he can just get the ball. Like that play on Sunday night or whatever night that was, where he took the ball right after they kind of cut the lead. He runs up the entire court because nobody can catch him and gets that layup and just puts the game over. He's such a dominant factor, and they have like 6 guys. That's how good this team is.
What time is what time's the game on Friday? You guys know?
8:30.
Yeah, but
8:30. And then game 4 is
7
Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah.
They're going to have trouble watching those in Tokyo. Bar's going to be closed.
Why, are you going to go?
Well, Sauce, let me ask you this. What time's game 5?
We don't know yet because there won't be one.
Talk about it.
God, you're good at this.
Talk about it.
There won't. I mean, hey, somebody who has quit a lot in their life, when the going gets tough, you quit. And I'm making a joke, but I'm also, that's what they've done. Denver wanted nothing to do with that last night. No. They were frustrated, and they played right into the Wolves' hand. And now you're going to go into a packed, probably half the town is going to be at the Loon before the game, full-throated, drunk stadium that is going to know how frustrated you get, and they're going to be on them the entire time. It is awesome.
Think about what
it's so awesome.
Think about what we expected from Denver going into yesterday's game. What we expected them was like, okay, they've been basically kind of phoning it in for 5 games right now, right? They've gotten off to a slow start. We're going to see their best. We're especially going to see their best in the first quarter. Right, we're going to see that first half. They're going to come out and make a statement and reestablish themselves. Right. This has been fun. Okay, we got hit in the mouth in game 1. Now you're going to see what we can do. And instead, it was over by halftime.
Well, and to your point, Saucy, that you were talking about, that this Denver Nuggets team has no depth. Much like the Phoenix Suns, there's not a whole lot of moves they can make to make a difference in this series. They're just outgunned in almost every way against the Wolves right now.
Their head coach is sitting. He can't stand and yell. Like, they're basically another man down, and they are beating the bejesus out of them.
Like just spanking them, man. Laughing.
Embarrassing them.
Getting Wolves in 4 chance on their home floor.
And then the play where Cat runs over Jamal Murray and Charles Barkley was like, that's a charge. And Shaq's like, no, it isn't. It's the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
And
that was a charge.
Well, yeah,
it was a charge.
That was totally a charge.
Yeah,
but we'll take it.
But also, like on the second or third possession the Wolves had, Cat got rolled over by right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Nobody brings that up.
Gordon set a forearm pick into him once, too.
How awesome, and they highlighted it about 5 times last night. How awesome was it when Nickeil Alexander-Walker was smiling in everyone's face as he was locking them down?
And he, as we've talked about quickly, he was a throwaway.
Yep.
Right.
What really matters is next. We'll do scores and stats, mostly related to the Timberwolves because they kicked some ass last night. They're up 2 games to nothing. This is the Power 2 Morning Show on the Fan.
The Fan. Rock out to some of the greatest hits of the 90s at Hawkfest. Catch some of the greatest hits from bands like Slipknot, Metallica, Linkin Park, Alice in Chains, and more. From the Chris Hockey Band, Matt Kirkwald, and a band of heavy metal misfits when they take the stage at the Summerfield Amphitheater on June 1st. The tickets are on sale now at themusicroom.com. But caller 11 right now will win their way in with a pair of tickets. 1-800-320-5326. Good luck.
How long are you going to talk?
It's going to be fun, man. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Maybe the next time I see you guys. So it's going to be fun.
What time will that be? Has anybody responded?
Not yet.
Marnie Geller will be here in about 35 minutes to break down.
Who will be here?
Marnie will be here at
what time?
7 o'clock.
She covers the Wolves, right?
She is very knowledgeable and will have very strong
I can't
opinions.
wait for that.
Sometimes you got to use your fist and not your mouth.
Or a heat pad. What really matters, scores and stats around the world of sports in between. Chris will change your life with something else. But look, it's all about the Timberwolves. The Wolves won last night against the Denver Nuggets to take a 2-0 series lead. No Gobert because his girlfriend had their first baby. And we were on Gobert watch all day, right? Will he make it to Denver? What time does the plane leave? How long is the flight? If he gets there at halftime, does he have to stretch? And ultimately, he didn't make it to Denver, and it didn't matter. They played unbelievable defense without the Defensive Player of the Year. So no Gobert, but it didn't matter. Ant and Cat both had 27 points. Alexander Walker and Naz each had 14. The Wolves now 6-0 this postseason. We mentioned earlier just the second time ever that the defending champ has lost the first 2 games of a series at home. Ugh. Isn't that crazy? That's amazing. Never happened except for one other time. It was the Lakers like a decade ago.
Crazy. They were swept, right?
They got swept.
Yep.
Hopefully that's foreshadowing and the Wolves get it done. That's what Charles Barkley said after the game. I don't know why I keep hammering on it outside of the fact that he's my all-time favorite athlete, but he said, he goes, it's a wrap. This thing's over. Yeah. Wolves are sweeping the Nuggets. And again, at this point, I think all of us would say, even if the Nuggets climb back in this and the Wolves win in 6, we'll take that as well. But it does feel like a sweep is imminent.
This ain't going 6 games.
I don't think it is either. No. Let's bury him and not have a game 5. Let's move on. What really matters, though, is this.
Hey, I've got a what really matters.
Oh, well, you go first.
Have you guys ever talked about the letter W before?
What?
And where it came from?
We discuss it all the time.
Okay, like,
yeah, man.
Of all the letters of the alphabet, you got like A, B, C. Like they're very simple, but then you got
letters.
Wait, okay,
slow down. I think we are.
Just slow down here. Let him explain.
Wait a minute.
But then you've got this one letter that's like W, this huge letter in the middle of it. The reason it's such a weird named letter is because originally it was a English letter, and it was written. It was eventually written as 2 U's in a row. And so eventually the two U's joined together, right?
2 U's?
And so
great reference.
It was called the W. And it turned from 2 curved bottoms to 2 pointed.
Yeah, talk about it.
Happens if you don't do squats.
But the part I really like is the reason that it was portrayed as 2 U's in a row is the sound it makes is actually 2 U's in a row. If you take a long U and a short U, like flute and fun, and you take those 2 U's together, put them together. Ooh, wah, What? That's the sound the
How
W
much
makes.
ayahuasca did you do in Japan? What did you do for the last 3 weeks? Were you with like some monks at the top of a mountain meditating?
Did I leave some weed at your house when I walked the dog?
He's been gone for a month. He goes, you guys ever notice the W is just two U's put together? Jesus Christ.
Looked at the alphabet.
Both in how it's drawn and how it sounds.
All right, let's do letter B next. Why does it look like 2P's 69?
Actually, the other one, I do have something on the ampersand. Did you know ampersand was a 27th letter at one point?
What?
We get to that in the next What Really Matters.
What a tease.
You know what, dude? I'm going to say this. Sounds like you really put your time in Japan to good use.
I had some time to kill on flight. All right? It's a long flight.
I also think he's preparing in case Hawk is escorted out.
Man.
Real audition tape here.
According to SI.com, this should shock no one, but according to SI.com, Kirk Cousins knew that the Vikings were planning heavily to draft a quarterback in round one, and that was part of the reason why he wanted to move on. I think the obvious answer is he also wanted the 4 years, $180 million, with the $100 million guaranteed, but it sounded like he respected the Vikings' honesty, like, hey, look, we're gonna draft your replacement, even though we still want you to stick around. And he said, thank you for your honesty, but that's not the situation I want to be in. Have a nice day.
Worked out.
And then he walked down to Atlanta and took $100 million guaranteed, and they immediately drafted his replacement without telling him.
How do they like the Falcons' honesty?
Right. If he, and he isn't, he's a very nice man, but if he was an a-hole, he would demand a trade immediately.
That would be hilarious.
Like, I'm sure Oakland would take him. If you think about it, I mean, there are teams that if he said, I'm not playing, if Michael Penix wins the job, he will immediately want to be traded.
Does anybody else pay that full contract?
I mean, Oakland, or why do I always say that? Vegas might. I mean, they don't have a quarterback.
And now, for the latest news on the ampersand, here's Japan's John Bonus.
Come on, Johnny, give it to us, baby.
300-400 years ago, there was a 27th letter in the alphabet, and it was the and sign that you've got, for instance. And it was the 27th one where they would go X, Y, Z, and originally it would go and, but that sounds weird. It was named and, right? And. And so at that time, the way of saying, and one other letter is per se. So the alphabet would go X, Y, Z, and per se, and.
Max was talking
and
about
eventually,
per se. Yeah.
this became ampersand. And it got dropped from the alphabet.
Hawk Googles that a lot.
Like Pluto.
Great song, right, Maxo?
Oh, brilliant song.
He says, I was going to eat your blanket. It's so good.
Per se.
All right.
I was going to learn about the alphabet, but then I got high.
I was going to include a 27th letter, and then I got high.
And now I'm
Boston Bruins. My Boston Bruins dominated the Florida Panthers. The Panthers scored first, and then the Bruins scored 5 unanswered goals to win 5-1. They steal game 1 against the Panthers. Now, again, last year, the Bruins were up 3-1 on the Panthers in round 1 and blew it.
Yeah, man.
And then the Panthers went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals before they lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. So rematch in round 2 this year, but game 1 goes to Swayman and company. The Boston Bruins up 1-0. What really matters is... Wait, John, do you have more on the alphabet, or are you giving it to Chris?
Not.
You don't have anything
What
else?
really matters is this.
I got one other one.
Go ahead, give it to me, baby.
All right. There was another letter at one point in the alphabet. It was also something that came from the English alphabet, kind of was inserted in the Latin alphabet. It was a letter that sounded like TH. Like the, that.
Yeah, right.
We're familiar with the combination TH.
Slow down. Not okay. Don't speak for everybody.
Well, you're familiar with THC.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Anyway, that letter looked a lot like Y, so eventually they dropped that letter, and that's why in old-timey language, you'll often see the Y replacing the TH, like instead of the old boat, it's ye old boat. The Y ended up replacing
That's
that.
why.
Or
yes.
yay, old boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you call the boat?
when you keep saying they decided this or they decided that or because I don't understand it, Tahei. Who is
I believe you
Tahei?
were
Just a lot of lazy
man.
people who didn't want to have to keep up with all these other weird letters. That's it.
You're not referring to the man when you say they?
I am not referring.
Yeah, some kind of a group of like the Illuminati or the Freemasons or something.
I was in charge of the alphabet.
Can I ask you a question about the Illuminati, please, John Bonus?
Sure.
Why are they always depicted in the dark?
In the dark. Great point. Great point, Hawk.
It's a good question.
God, that is
Especially because
badass.
Illuminati
Badass song.
suggests illumination.
That I was kind of, yeah.
God dang, man.
That's what I was saying.
You're
we should get high together sometime.
I love
plenty of free
random
time.
facts.
Wait a minute, we are now?
Pleth.
That's funny. I'm at plenty of free time pretty soon, Johnny Bones.
Any responses?
Not yet.
The Minnesota Twins are back to their winning ways. They won 3-1 over the Mariners. Just 5 hits, but that's all they needed, Johnny Bones. So while you were in Japan, I don't know if you heard about this. They won 12 straight
I
at
have
one
heard
point.
about it. Yeah. This team has been really good, and what was so terrible about them through the first 20 games is what has been carrying them the last 14. It was their offense. Their offense we thought was going to be a real strength coming into the season. It was an absolute disaster the first 20 games of the season, and then suddenly everybody caught fire, and you've got consistent pitching, and you've got an unbelievable offense, and you go 13-1 over the last 14 games, and they're back in this thing, baby.
Just 2.5 games behind. They are 20-14. The Royals also 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians, who are 23-12.
Yeah, the AL Central has a lot of teams that are 500 or above or in that area. Partly that's because they've got one team that is just absolutely brutal in the Chicago White Sox that all of those other teams can beat up on. But that can happen. That's what happened last year in the AL West. Last year in the AL West, we had 3 teams competing for 2 wild card spots, the Rangers, the Astros, and the Mariners. And part of the reason they were all sitting at 89 or 90 wins is because Oakland was in their division and racking up like 50 wins or something like that over the season. So, beat up on the teams that you should beat up, and the Twins absolutely did that. They took 7 from the White Sox and 3 of the Angels, and that was part of what their big win streak was.
But taking an average group of people with average talent and then beating up on one person is not something that the Power Trip Morning Show relates to.
What? The he? What the he hell?
He doesn't get it.
What the he hell?
Could you take the next 20 minutes and explain that to him again, please?
What?
I'm sorry. I felt like I was out on ye old boat.
I do like the ye thing. That explains a lot.
Explain that to Kanye.
Oh, yeah. Is he still with us?
You mean
Was he here?
Confi he hell.
You know what? I'll see you guys later.
Oh, God. If you had alphabet knowledge on your bingo card, I tip the cap to you. I did not see that one coming.
That's why this show is the best.
Marty Gellner in 24 minutes. More of what really matters after this on The Fan.
Fan.
The Power Hour, just over an hour away. You can watch it at KFAN.com/watch. It's powered by Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed.
Come on in, everybody. Power Trip Morning Show as we continue to celebrate the big Wolves win last night. I'm guessing I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But a dominant victory for your Minnesota Timberwolves last night. And here's your head coach. His name is Chris Finch. And he was excited about the way his team played defense.
It's always been, got to compete had to learn how to compete. And then you got to learn how to always compete. And you got to learn how to compete at the high levels. And when you do that, you're always going to give yourself a chance to win no matter who's available on your roster. And the goal has always been to put out a team that people like to cheer for. That doesn't happen unless you play hard. And it usually doesn't happen unless you play defense and you share the ball. And we're doing all those things right now.
Nailed it.
Yeah, man.
And look, everybody's talking about the maturity and the ascension of Anthony Edwards. Rightfully so. He is ascending essentially to the top of the pile in the entire world when it comes to basketball. Maybe the top of the pile, if not just that top group. But look, as a guy that openly begged for this team to trade Cat the hell out of here because I got so tired of him complaining and flailing and whining and playing like a baby. Tip of the cap to that dude, too. I mean, he just seems like a different player. And I think what we've learned, though, is that some guys, when they are the guy, when they're the lead on the team, they just can't handle it. And I think he's just such a better Robin than he is a Batman. And I think it took him maybe a second or two to truly understand that this is Ant's team. But, man, I don't even think, like, the way the two of them get along, whether it's the press conferences or just shoot around, everybody seems to be on the same page. We don't have a Garnett Marbury situation where there's jealousy. It just seems like Kat's like, no, I get it. It's Ant. But we're going to do this together, and I'm going to be essentially, 1 in 1A instead of Marbury going, well, I want to go to New York because I need more money because I don't want to be in KG's shadow.
That transition seems to be about the least painful that it can be. Yeah. It's amazing.
Kat's also a great human. That also helps. He's a very good man.
And not that Marbury isn't. Is Marbury a terrible dude?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he was hype during that Knicks game yesterday.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Front row Marbury.
I don't know anything about I don't know. But, like, and the NBA is also structured differently, right? Like, Kat's gotten paid, like what he's worth. It's not like, it used to be the Wild West, but, like, he knows. And as you were saying, Corey, he knows that he can win a championship and maybe multiple. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but this is fun with Ant. That if he is the Robin to Ant's Batman, they can dominate.
Right, and I'm not comparing the two, but look at Kevin Love when he was here.
Right.
When he was the guy, we had kind of topped out because he can't be the lead.
Exactly.
You put him on a Cavaliers team or a Heat team, and you see how valuable he is if he's the second or third or fourth guy.
Yeah.
The Wolves have had so many people over the years that were pegged as the guy that should be the third or fourth guy. Like the Al Jefferson era, right?
Yeah.
Jefferson was a really, really solid basketball player. He can't be your best player, right? Otherwise, you're going to lose 60 games a year.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Cat is Al Jefferson because Cat's better. But, man, this is just it's nice that in the last, I would say, maybe year, maybe since Rudy got here, Cat has slowly just let the team slip out of his fingers and just go, all right, this is not, quote, my team. And that's fine. We're going to win as a team, but Ant's going to be the face of the team.
Well, and he was the main, but before, like, last season, because I remember it was kind of a storyline early on in the season. Like, D'Lo wasn't really passing to Rudy very much. Ant wasn't really passing to Rudy very much. Cat was the first one before he got injured that sacrificed part of his game to integrate Rudy into this offense and into this team. And honestly, if you're Cat, this is the ideal situation because you still get all the same touches that you got before. This offense still very much needs Karl Anthony Towns. Most of the time throughout the regular season, this offense is mainly driven by Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Naz Reid or whoever else gets some buckets and helps out. So he still gets just as many touches as he got before, just as many shots as he got before, but he doesn't have the pressure of being the guy for this team and having to lead this team to the promised land. So it's the ideal situation for Cat.
I swear I saw in the third quarter last night where Naz Reid ended up picking up a foul, I think, against Jokic. And Naz Reid was reacting like, that's a crazy foul and ready to go crazy. And it was Cat that came over to Naz and calmed him down.
It's a little different.
Am I the only one who saw that? I was like, wow, that's a very different Cat. Yeah.
The run it back mentality, though, we'll never have to worry about this now. But I wonder how far into the year, if this had not worked in year two, right, where all the excuses that Rudy and Cat hadn't played enough together, if those are out the window, if you're at the All-Star break and this team was sub 500, it might have been the end of Cat because trading Rudy would have been tough to get any value back. The value would have been in Cat, right? Trade him to somewhere like New York or something like that. We'll never have to We'll never have to worry about it now. But I wonder what Tim Connolly's plan was pre-season in terms of how long am I going to run this back before I say it didn't work.
Yeah.
But it did. Yeah. In fact, it only got better and better and better as the year went on. And now this is just a level that even the 04 squad didn't get to.
No.
Not like this.
This team would sweep the 04 squad.
So I saw somebody tweet last night, and we don't need to do the whole hypothetical sports debates for an hour, but just give me your quick Twitch answer. I saw somebody tweet that they were born in 2001. So this is the best Minnesota team they have ever seen. The only one that's in conversation is the 09 Vikes, right?
The 09 Vikes.
Yeah.
The 2017
and
Vikes were fine, but they weren't.
They weren't this squad?
No, they weren't this.
And the difference between the 09 Vikes and this squad is that Favre was at the end of his career and at the beginning.
Well said. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
So that felt like we have like about a 1 or 2 year window. We better squeeze out a Super Bowl or this is not going to work. This feels like we might do it this year and are going to be a handful for the next 5 to 10 years.
I mean, as long as they can keep the top 6 together, this team can win every year. I mean, they were almost the number 1 seed, right? Like,
yeah, it came down to the very last game.
They're so good, and they are beating the pants off of some of the best teams in the NBA. They're just embarrassing them. They beat Denver twice in Denver handily. That's how good they are.
What's Nas's contract situation?
He just re-signed
Hawk
in
knows.
this.
Hawk, how many years does he have?
It goes through February 2025. I'm sorry, you said it.
Brilliant.
Oh.
Inside jokes.
Yeah. Radio for 7 people.
Yeah,
it's 3 years, $42 million.
Wow.
What a steal.
That's and then Nikhil Alexander-Walker might be the best contract in all of the NBA.
Yes.
We're barely even paying him, and he's a max contract level player. Like worst players have gotten bigger contracts.
What a luxury to bring that off the bench.
Seriously, the 2 best non-starters in all of the NBA.
Did Tim Connolly build this team to beat this squad?
I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier. It had to be in the back of his mind when he traded for Rudy. And they mentioned it last night on the broadcast. If you're going to beat the best team, which is Denver, they have 3 7-footers they throw at Joker, and it just frustrates him. This team is built to beat Denver.
Zach,
and
your hands
they
up.
even said that a couple of last year when they didn't have everybody, that Denver said it was the toughest team they played.
Question for Max, probably, but maybe you guys can answer this too, is how does the salary cap work with the NBA? Does it go up with however much money they're getting with TV?
Yeah, and then there's a luxury tax. But of course, Glenn Taylor's only gone over the luxury tax, I think, 3 or 4 times, and he also roasts chickens alive.
Because my point is, they make, I think it's like $2.7 billion a year on their current TV deal, which expires after next season. That's going to go up to about 7. So you're going to have more room, I would imagine, right, to keep this team around maybe for even longer than you could based on whatever the cap is and the luxury tax. I mean, everything's really coming together nicely, it feels like, for the Wolves.
Well, and this team the vibes are so high. It sounds cliche to say, but the vibes are so high that who would want to leave? Like, these guys love playing with each other. Correct. I mean, even Mike Conley won Teammate of the Year. Everybody's there. Nas Reed wins 6th Man of the Year. Everybody's there celebrating. Rudy and Ant are having baby showers, and everybody's there hanging out. Like, this team loves being around each other. There's Anthony Edwards is a superstar. He's bringing so much joy to the game. He's going to attract other players from other teams to want to come here. I mean, it's correct. The future looks nothing but bright for this Timberwolves team. And all of our best players on the team right now are pretty young and even
signed.
Exactly. So
and think of the opposite here if they schedule an 11 o'clock meeting. It could be a retirement party.
Or what?
A farewell party.
Oh.
If they scheduled it at 11, half of us are like, 11?
They had that
That's
bit at
nap
1.
time.
It'd be a Zoom,
None of you
and it'd
showed
be
up.
5 minutes long.
Yeah, we might get a Zoom today.
Right. Quick update.
This is one of those 901 days that I cannot wait for. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, I can't either.
But back to the Wolves
your
real
popcorn.
quick, too. They've been wanting this new arena. I mean, this could be the first step, depending on, obviously, ownership situation, which I think are assuming A-Rod and Laurie are eventually going to win this case and everything. They win this case, they get the opportunity. We're a market where we have a full-size arena across the river that they can play in for a couple of years while they build it. I mean, in 5 years, we could be talking brand new arena, hottest franchise in the league, with the superstars of tomorrow.
And we got a young quarterback. This could be the beginning of our Boston-like run.
J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. And
Look at what we're doing. Look at us counting chickens.
Would they?
Glenn's better than Glenn roasting them.
Oh, yeah. Well, assuming they build in the same spot, which
They
is
would
tough
play at the
because
XL?
they did try to fit in an NBA arena in like 3 square city blocks, which is ridiculous. But
They did it with a baseball.
You know when they redid the front of Target Center though with like that nice little glass corner bit, right?
Yeah,
glass is expensive. What do you think a trophy case in the new arena is going to cost? And how much space do we
They're gonna
need?
have to make it extra big.
That's a lot of glass.
Yeah, it's a lot of trophies.
And they're going to have to spend some money on that Anthony Edwards statue
That's
as well.
true. You're right.
And then a Nas Reed statue in the stands
goes
too.
first,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Nas plays for the Wolves. Let your friend know that, Hawk.
Oh yeah, he knew that.
Okay.
Yeah. He kept hitting threes last night.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy plays for us.
where are we going to put the Hall of Fame?
Probably at the Armory, just like as a tip of the cap to the Lakers for back in the day.
That's
right?
a great idea.
Thank you.
Whole museum, Minnesota basketball.
So, Hawk, you watched into the third quarter last night?
I did. I really did.
Your guy D'Lo, man, was playing well.
He's a good player, man.
Yeah.
Good player. Looks like he's got it all figured out.
Did you text him?
I think he just understands this system. He's been with us for a long time now, right? He knows the system. He knows how to play basketball.
And when Rudy's back here in the Twin Cities, because his gal's having their first son, right?
Yeah.
You got a bunch of 7-footers. You got Nas Reed. You got Karl Anthony Towns. You got George Mike. And you got all these guys just rolling at Joker, going like, not today, champ. Not today.
Hawk tweeted
built to
that
win.
he thought Mikan played really well last night.
Well, and your guy J-Mac got out on the floor last
Made
night.
it out. I
You
try to
called
tell
it.
you guys, and nobody listens to me. Everybody thinks I'm just shooting stuff here.
I do wish the game wasn't Thursday or wasn't Friday. I want the game.
I know.
I want the game tonight.
I wish it was
Thursday at the latest.
I wish it was at 7 a.m. Like I'm ready for it right now.
Same. I loved all the people that tweeted they were all the pictures of them in defensive stances. I think Parker Fogg started that on Twitter last night.
I'm actually the opposite. I wish this was 6 weeks. I want to bask in this moment for as long as possible.
There you go.
I don't want game 3 to start yet because we're not used to this. I want 6 weeks. I want this to be the mock draft season for you, Sauce.
Oh,
in
that's
between
right
game
around the
2
corner.
and game 3, just talk about how Denver's dead, how we're going to win the title, how we're going to build new arenas and put up statues. Let's have this last as long as possible, just in case game 3 or 4 or 5 doesn't go our way. Let's live in this.
Even if it doesn't, though, like
here.
I feel like even when they finally do, because they'll probably lose eventually.
Nah, come on, no.
Just the one.
Just the one game. Mad at your
Get the
Wild.
hell out of here.
They're gonna
Mad at his wife.
16-0 is
the Wild.
You're mad at your wife,
16-0.
You got married?
Zacko, you tell us.
You have one tweet make national TV
Yeah.
and you start saying, I think we're going to lose.
Look at you, Zacko.
man.
You've changed.
I think it'll be a good thing. I really do. I think
Sounds like it.
They're not going to lose
they'll
Friday.
Well, if they don't lose Friday, they're going to win the series.
They're going to win the
'Cause
series.
That's literally happened every other time.
Zacko, what's going on with you and your wife?
What happened to your wife?
Are you and your
She
wife
okay?
okay?
Yeah,
Zach,
is Setterhome okay?
Inside the NBA on TNT is a show that follows NBA games on TNT. Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, Ernie Johnson, and Shaq.
Steve Lumber.
Yeah, I know those.
And once in a while, they post
Pablo.
cute little tweets, mostly taking shots at one of the people on the show, right? If you didn't see last night's game, Jamal Murray from the Denver Nuggets at one point threw a heat pad or heat pack onto the court when the game was going on, and he didn't get in trouble because the refs didn't see him do it. Anyway, at Zach Halverson on Twitter tweeted at NBA on TNT and said, if it is truly cold in the at NBA on TNT studio, someone needs to throw Ernie a hot pack.
It was brilliant.
And they posted that on the show, and Zach viral. Power Trip Nation tweeted at you 1,000 times. I texted you immediately. My guess is you got 47 texts.
Oh, yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
A lot of people watched that show. My God. I mean, I knew they did.
It
but
was
like,
great.
It's
very
weird
good.
to get like 50 notifications at once on Twitter of everybody. Did you see the tweet? Made
Yeah.
the TV. Pretty
It's
cool.
like, it's like the second or third time you've done that,
Third
right?
time I've made TNT. First two were NHL when Wayne Gretzky got to see my tweet. That was
that's
sick.
Does somebody at TNT know you? And
I don't-
like you?
I don't know,
Did
maybe.
you match
I
with
just-
somebody online?
I
that
just
works
think
at
my
TNT?
content's fire, you know? It's the best.
Marnie Gellner is an American treasure. She joins us next to talk about Game 2, in which the absolute ass-kicking took place in Denver without Rudy Gobert. We'll talk to Marnie about it after this on...
Here in my car, I can listen to